Can be documented in that way if you have a highly broken up airplane. Quite often it's the instrument panel that strikes first.
It didn't bode well tonight when the local police were thanking citizens groups, even an Indian tribe that makes its home near the shore near Gay Head there on Martha's Vineyard, for kind of cordoning off the beach and volunteering and turning in every little piece. There was emphasis on little pieces of this wreckage. That doesn't bode well, does it, for the angle of entry into the water on this plane?
I think that's the most disturbing fact we have.
Well, let's amplify that. That the pieces of the wreckage are small means what?
Well, it probably means the high impact forces, which would be characteristic of a high angle of impact. But the significant thing is the high impact forces, which would be exerted on the human beings in the plane, as well as the structure of the plane. And of course, we have seen survivors from airplanes that were terribly mangled and broken up. But then this one is also in the water.
That's right. So a high rate of speed upon impact could narrow it to a number of causes then. Could be pilot error, could be mechanical error, but whatever it means, loss of control at a certain speed and altitude.
Well, of course, often you have the combination. It's if there were some loss of instrumentation, loss of power to this aircraft, it may have been very hard for an inexperienced pilot to handle, whereas another might have. Again, that's all speculative because we don't know whether either of those events occurred. I don't think really know yet. I'm sure there will be one of the ways in which this accident investigation may be different from the standard general aviation accident investigation. There may be a greater attempt to definitively document the weather conditions, but that will need to be done in order for us to understand fully what happened.
All right, Jim Burnett, thank you. We want to go to correspondent Kerry Sanders in an exchange that happened earlier this evening from a chopper above the crash area. It's about likely conditions, especially in the haze and heat wave prevalent here in the east.
Well, they know that they're racing against time to look for debris, look for victims, maybe even the possibility of survivors, although they are certainly losing hope that that will be the case. Let me take you live out here. You can see one of the Coast Guard cutters as we look out here at the coast along Martha's Vineyard. I'm sorry, I'm a little confused. I think we had to put the videotape there for a minute. As I take you off the coast here, you can see the vast area they're searching, and you can also see how hazy it is. That haziness making it difficult not only for perhaps a pilot yesterday flying here as the sun was going down and into the evening, according to experts, losing some sort of sense of where the horizon is if you're flying visually, but also making it difficult for the airborne searchers today who are flying in helicopters from the Coast Guard as well as small planes from the Civil Air Patrol flying in and around this area looking for debris. Now, at one point, a Coast Guard cutter did find a piece of debris. We're showing you here a piece of videotape. You can see the Coast Guardsman here on the starboard side, the right side of this 42-footer. First there at the bow, you see something floating in the water. Then it disappears for a moment because it's on the other side of the vessel. The Coast Guardsman leans over, and here you can see he hooks it, and there, grabs it, and here begins to bring it on board. Now, it appears to be a piece of fuselage from a plane. It's got the markings or the cutouts of what could be windows. It's got the fuselage there of what could be a plane. That piece of debris was taken on board this 42-footer, this Coast Guard boat, brought back into Martha's Vineyard to the Coast Guard station, where it has been taken back and is now with some other items that have been collected. Again, now we're looking at a live picture. The sunlight will be going down here. They probably have less than 2 hours now to continue searching this area, a vast area here, and you can see the coast here. Just that haziness, I think, Brian, that really tells quite a story of how difficult it is to really see here.
our conversation with Kerry Sanders earlier, just as an example of how that haze can form. It is basically water droplets when mixed with pollution from the East Coast, and it can form very quickly. That conversation around the 7 o'clock hour here in the East. We are still operating on the assumption that there is a search and rescue operation underway in the water off of Martha's Vineyard, Massachusetts. No investigator is saying anything else. At stake here, the fates of two Bessette family sisters. Carolyn Bessette, the rather new wife of John Kennedy, and her sister, 16 months her senior, part of identical twins. Lauren Bessette, both women passengers on this single-engine Piper Saratoga, brand new to him, piloted by John Kennedy. So much has been said about John Kennedy already today, what he had moved his life into, his career as a magazine editor and president of the operation, something Tom Brokaw profiled when the Raps came on the new production called George.
Ladies and gentlemen, meet George.
This was a party for George, but a man named John was the main attraction, as he always is.
I don't think that I've seen as many of you in one place since they announced the results of my first bar exam, so it's nice to see you all again.
John Kennedy has his father's droll sense of humor, but after a brief stint in the Manhattan District Attorney's office, he left public service for the high-risk world of magazine publishing. George, named after the first president, is designed to be the Rolling Stone of politics, and politics are hard to sell to a mass audience. So for now, it's more John than George.
Is there a conflict in your own mind about your role in all of this? It will succeed in part because it's also the selling of John Kennedy. But at the same time, you want more privacy, not less in your life.
I mean, I understand that I compromise a measure of my own privacy by doing something like this. This is a commercial venture, and I'm out here selling my magazine.
On the evening news and in prime time.
What the hell is this? It's a copy of George. It's the new political magazine I'm editing.
As for that speculation, John always wanted to be an actor, but his mother thought it wasn't dignified enough.
I'm so glad that you asked me that question because it finally allows me to put to rest. You know, I took 3 theater arts classes in Brown when I was in a couple of plays. I never could imagine it as an actual profession for me.
Among the many other things that she was, your mother was a great editor. What would she have thought of George, do you think?
So I think she would be amused by it. Whether or not she would have liked everything in it, I don't know.
On the dais.
Kennedy and his partner invested their own money, but a French publisher came up with the big bucks, about $20 million. Kennedy's father had a brief flirtation with journalism, but preferred the arena of politics. Young Kennedy isn't prepared to make that step yet.
I think anytime you go into politics, you have to really, it's like going into the military in a way. You have to be prepared to sign on for it and to sign on for the long haul, and you better make sure that the rest of your life will accommodate that decision. I have a few years to make that decision now.
The magazine, while not making truckloads of money, is a little bit behind on circulation and ad pages, depending on who you ask, was the projection for sales, but still being looked at glowingly by an admirable project, and those who predicted its all but imminent demise after launch have certainly been proven wrong. The product of John Kennedy, whose title, by the way, is both editor and president of the operation. Throughout this day, as the hours went by, when it became apparent that there was quite a slim measurable chance of finding John Kennedy, NBC News correspondent Rick Davis went back through this very public life, part of this family that has seen such highs and lows, and gave us the following.